All right, YouTube, we're back here for round number 4. We won the die roll, and I know that we are playing against Bogles. This hand has no Cascade spell, 2 Valkis, so not a huge fan of it. I think I'm going to go ahead and take a mulligan. We can definitely do better. This hand is incredibly risky. I think I'd rather just go to 5 at this point. I mean, obviously, if we keep this hand and draw a blue source, it's quite good. But I think this hand is just too risky. We have 25 lands, but I still think I'd rather just mulligan to 5. A 5 that has, a Simeon and a turn 2 Tybalt is maybe just good enough. I do think this matchup is pretty close overall, but our best cards in the matchup are like Force of Negation to slow them down. We have 2 main deck sweepers that we can draw to. But we just can't really afford to miss a beat in this matchup, so I don't think we can keep a hand like this. If I was in the draw, I could maybe consider keeping this. But being on the play, I think it's pretty unreasonable. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take a mulligan. Okay. So, definitely going to keep this hand. I think I'm going to put back Teferi Gemstone Caverns. What I could do, actually, is just put back both Teferis. If they play a turn 1 Boggle, I just Fire Spot, hope they don't have a second Boggle. And then the reason I want to keep my third mana source is so that I could be able to cast both Cascade spells if I drew it. I think that's actually better, because I'm going to have to Fire Spot a Boggle on turn 2 almost certainly. So I think it's better to do it this way. And then I have 3 mana on turn 3 after I Simeon the Fire Spout. And then I could potentially be able to cast any Cascade spell that I draw. The reason I want to Fire Spot on turn 1 is because if they have any Umbras in their hand, Fire Spot essentially will just trade for the Umbra, and I don't get to kill the Boggle that way. So I think I'm just going to turn 2 Fire Spout. Get the Abzan Triumph and then Steam Vents, and I'll be able to cast both Cascade spells. Yeah, just going to go ahead and fire it off. I guess I didn't have to shock here. Could have just played Caverns. So maybe I took some unnecessary damage. Just hope they don't have a second Boggle. Looks like they have a Spirit Dancer. Oh, they have a second Boggle. Okay, it's unfortunate. And an Ethereal Armor. It's not the worst draw in the world. If they go for a Coronet, we can bounce the Armor in response to sort of fizzle the Coronet. Let's see what they do. I think just attack. I'll probably just take 2. I think I'm okay with this. Their plan might just be Luris. Now the question is, do I want to play the Borrower? I want to bounce the Armor. It does use my mana. Bouncing is better if I find a Cascade spell, so I do think it is worth it. Then we'll just get Jeskai Triumph, so we have double white in case we draw the 1 Supreme Verdict. Drew a Seagate Restoration. I'm going to hang on to that in case I find Force of Negation. Maybe some way down the road I want to pitch a blue card. Unlikely to matter, but let's see what they have. They have an Umbra, that's fine. Yep. Spirit Link. Okay. take 5. It's fine. There's really no reason not to cast this Borrower, so might as well. Kind of on slim outs here at this point. Yeah, we actually have no outs because now even if we draw Tybalt, we take 5, and the next turn we just die, so go ahead and pack that one in. Okay, a little unfortunate there. I do think after sideboarding this matchup gets significantly better, so hopefully we can go ahead and showcase that. I have experimented bringing in Failure to Comply before, but I'm not sure if it's actually that good. So we're in the play, so we can afford to cut a Caverns. And then the last cut is usually like a Teferi, a Valki. I think I want to keep the 24th land, especially in a matchup where I kind of just have to hit my land drops to cast these sweepers. Could board out a Borrower, could board out a Valki. It's kind of close what the last cut is. I was cutting it to Fairy last night, and I think that makes sense. So let's do that. Teferi's not the best. It doesn't really bounce many of their creatures. I mean, they have Gaddock in their sideboard, but that's about the only thing that it's good at bouncing. Alright, so we are on the play. And I think this is going to be good enough. Yeah, because we can get Jeskai Triumph with this. I would have kept 7. Lead, cover, scout. So if I get Jeskai Triumph, I won't have green mana, but I will still be able to cast Wear or Tear. So let's just get Jeskai Triumph here. Because I have Ardent Play, I can still cast that. Let's play this as a tap land. Well, there's a chance I want to pitch it to Force, because I don't necessarily want to pitch this plea. But if I play Island and have to Force, no, I don't think that's worth it. I think I just need to play that land and not take damage. Maybe it's worth it to give myself the option to pitch it, but I don't really want to. I want to play it as a land because that's my third mana source. If they play a Gaddock, I'll just cast Fire Spout. If they play an Aura, I'll probably just kill it in step. Like, I'm okay with this. They have a second armor. They have an Umbra. They have 4 cards in their hand. So I could force pitch plea, but then I can't cast Violent Outbursts. I could let it resolve, tear the Umbra, untap, cast Fire Spout. It's a little worse if they have a Gaddock. So what I think I want to do is just let it resolve. I'm going to tear the Umbra, take 2, untap, slam Ardent Plea, and then hopefully be able to follow up with the Fire Spout. That's not bad either. That also gives me a blue card to pitch to Force if I absolutely have to. So let's cast Tybalt. Go ahead and uptick. Like if they play something like a Daybreak Coordinate, maybe I want to force that. There's a white source to cast Verdict, so that's good. Ethereal Armor. Make it a 5/5, right? It still doesn't kill Tybalt, so I think that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Because I have the Verdict. Attacking me for 5. I have another Boggle. Yep, that is perfectly fine. Okay, it's plus Tybalt. It's perfect. Now we can just not take damage. We can get a basic planes. So let's do that. Then we still have Force up next turn. Oh, I guess we don't because we're using our blue card, but this should be more than fine. And then we even get to ultimate the Tybalt next turn and get the Verdict again, so should be pretty smooth sailing from here. They're down to 3 cards. Even if they put Lurrus in their hand, we could just ultimate the Tybalt to exile their graveyard to make the Lurrus irrelevant. I don't really see a way out of it for them at this point. Yeah, okay, they agree. Going to game 3 on the draw. Being on the draw is, certainly not where I want to be against them, but you do have some tools. I think I'm still down to cut the Teferi. Teferi is even a little bit worse than the draw because you just kind of don't have time for things like that. You just have to, you either have to have a really fast Tybalt or a really fast sweeper. Their deck doesn't really give you a lot of time. So there is some consideration. If my blue count was low enough, which let's take a look and see what our blue count is. It's currently 16. I could cut a Valki just for a 17th blue card. Which I actually kind of like that. Because when you're on the draw, force is incredibly important. So I think I'm just going to do that. Usually don't need more than one Valki to close them out, especially because a lot of times in this matchup, they just ignore Valki anyways. They just go after your face, so... So we're on the draw. We have no fast mana, no force, no cascade spell, so I don't really think I can afford to keep this. Okay, opponent mulls to 5. This hand has essentially all the tools that we're looking for. We're just missing lands, but we are in the draw. I think I'm actually down to keep this. Pitch Violent Outburst so that I can force Pitch Borrower and then still have access to all the other cards. I'm going to keep it. It's a little risky for sure, but this hand just kind of has all that we're looking for. Obviously, with the exception of lands, but... this hand has a very, very high upside. So I think I'm willing to keep it. Knowing me, I'll probably just draw a land and a Spirit Guide. Opponent stays on 5. They have a Bogle. It's not the best draw. Hopefully because they're on 5, their start isn't quite as explosive. Debating if I want to force this. I think I do, actually. I understand that I have Wear Tear to fuse. Like, I could just fetch a Jeskai Triome, let them name Tybalt, but because I'm so short on mana, I can just force this, tear their enchantment, and then they're down to 1 card. So I think I'm down with that. Let's see what they have as a follow-up. Looks like they do have an aura. Let's see what it is. Ethereal Armor. That's fine. Just going to take 2, and I kind of don't want to fetch because I don't want to thin my deck of a land, but at the same time I really want to get a Jeskai Triome. Because if I draw like a Gemstone Caverns, I can potentially hold up Borrower. Because the Jeskai Triumph is the land I want to get regardless. Okay, unfortunate. But they're down to 1 card, and we still have a Terror in our hand, so this isn't that bad for us. And if they go for something like a Coronet... sure, that's fine. Assume they're going to name Tybalt. I think I'm just going to take 2 here instead of tearing. It's a small enough clock that I can afford to take a couple of hits from it to try and give myself the opportunity to draw some lands and potentially fuse it. Like, I'm just not going to cast it here, because I'm not doing anything else with my mana anyways. There we go. Now we can just pass. And we'll see what they draw. That will inform our decision. They drew a land, which means Lurrus this turn, most likely. I think I'm just going to take this again. Now the question I have to ask myself is, do I want to go high upside and just wear the Needle end of turn? That way if I draw a land I can Fire Spell. Although I don't really want to Fire Spell until after they play Lurrus anyways. So maybe highest upside is just bounce the Needle. Then if I peel a land, I can plea Uptick. And they won't really have enough pressure. And then the turn after, I can just Fire Spout. I think that's highest upside. I'll just bounce this. Hopefully peel a land. There we go. It's even a basic. I'm going to get plains here because of Supreme Verdict. Ardent Plea, put a Tybalt on the stack. Now kind of the world is our oyster. I'm going to uptick. I don't particularly care about the Arbor. Plus I'm just going to clean up the Arbor with Fire Spot next turn anyways. And now I can even fuse Wear Tear and activate Tybalt, or I could just Fire Spout, depending on what they do. So they're going to play Needle. Makes sense. So we know they have Lurrus and 1 unknown. The unknown is a Hyena Umbra, which is actually a little annoying. Unless I find a land. Because now Fire Spout doesn't kill the Hyena Umbra, and I have a tap land, right? So their last card is Lurrus. So how do we get out of this? I think here. What if I went Fuse Wear Tear, kill the Needle and the Armor, uptick Tybalt, play tap land, say go. Then what they can do is they can go Lurrus, replay the Armor, attack for 4, I go to 2. Then if I draw another land, I can go Bounce Umbra, Fire Spout. So I think that is my best line. So we're going to kill the Needle and the Armor, because the Armor represents more damage. I guess what I could also do is just downtick on the Dryad Arbor to make it so they won't necessarily, unless they draw a land, they can't Lurrus and also play something. And then my Tybalt's at 4. I'm trying to think if that's better. Oh, because then this land will come into play tapped is the issue, though. So I think that's worse. I think I'm going to uptick. Did not hit a land, which is very unfortunate. Because now we need to hit a land so we can go Borrower the Umbra and Fire Spout. Because assuming they go Lurrus, Needle, the Tybalt, I can't ultimate. Right? If they Lurrus Armor, then I can ultimate. But I can't imagine they would make that play. Because then they just attack me for 4, I go to 2, and then I ultimate Tybalt, and... See, it's even face up, right? Because the tear is face up, so I ult Tybalt, tear the Umbra Fire Spout, because the Fire Spout's exiled. So, like, given that that's all face up, it's, you know... I can't imagine they would make that play. Definitely a precarious position here. We need to find a land. Preferably, well, it has to be one that doesn't deal us damage, assuming... Well, that's not true, because if they Lurrus Needle, then we go to 4, and we can even find a shock land. Oh, actually, that doesn't work, right? Because then I just go 2 mana Borrower, borrow the Needle, ultimate Tybalt, Borrower the Umbra, Fire Spout. So that's not good enough. Not sure what they're supposed to do here. Okay, that's fine. So we can take 4. I wonder if they're going to attack Tybalt here. Given that they didn't Needle, maybe they were supposed to. Yeah, maybe they are supposed to attack Tybalt here. And they are choosing to attack Tybalt. That makes sense. Alright, well, we found a land anyways. So now I can just go... Yeah, now we just bounce the Umbra Fire Spout. So let's... uptick. Play this land so we can get a basic. So we take less damage. Oh, I have to Petty Theft the Umbra. And then Fire Spout. Alright. Well, they have an Umbra. You can go. They have no more Lurrus. If they find another Boggle, it could be a little dicey, but then we could just go land 6, fetch shock to 2, to Fairy, bounce the Umbra Fire Spout again. Yeah, that's fine. Alright. So now we uptick. We don't even have to fetch shock. These both on... It's hard to tell whether or not these are both on suspend. Yeah, so now we go to Fairy. Down tick on the Umbra. Let me do this. Cast another Fire Spout. They have an Umbra and a Rancor in their hand. Let's hope they don't find a Boggle. Even if they do, we're exiling 2 fire spots on a wear tear. So let's say they find a Boggle, we can just go ultimate Tibalt, wear tear, kind of go from there. Let's ultimate Tibalt. Now it should be pretty easy from here. Uptick this. We can actually kill them pretty quickly because we can just start casting their own Boggles. That's funny. Alright, he gave us the GGs. Alright, looks like we got him. So we played against the Boggle Menace, if you will. This is a deck that a lot of people are playing to try and defeat the Tibalt Menace, but as you can see, nothing stops the Tibalt. So 3-1 in the PTQ, that's not a bad start. We only lost the mirror match. So hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you back in just a little bit for round number 5.